Out of the desert on the edge of Cairo, a creature of stone lifts its head to meet the rising sun. It has the crouching body of a great lion and the calm face of a king, and it has kept its watch here for some 4,500 years, longer than almost anything ever raised by human hands. Kings, armies, and empires have come and gone before it, and still it waits, half of stone and half of legend, gazing east toward the dawn. Welcome to the Great Sphinx of Giza. We are on the Giza Plateau, on the western bank of the Nile at the very edge of modern Cairo. Here the green of the river valley gives way to open desert, and upon this rocky shelf rise the famous pyramids, with the Sphinx crouched just below and before them. Egypt's ancient capital of Memphis once stood nearby, and for thousands of years, this plateau has been a place of tombs, temples, and monuments on the threshold between the living valley and the desert of the dead. Before us crouches the guardian of the plateau. The Great Sphinx lies at the eastern foot of the Giza pyramids, low against the desert floor yet impossible to ignore, its long body stretched out and its head held high above the sand. For as long as anyone can remember, it has seemed less a statue than a living sentinel, set here to watch over the great tombs behind it and the ancient road that once led up to them. To come upon, it is to feel that you have arrived at the very center of ancient Egypt. Look closely, and its strange nature becomes clear. The Sphinx joins the powerful reclining body of a lion to the head of a human king, crowned with the striped royal headcloth of a pharaoh. In this single form, the Egyptians bound together two ideas: the raw strength and ferocity of the desert lion, and the wisdom and authority of a ruler. It is neither wholly beast nor wholly man, but something greater than both, a divine guardian gazing out over the sands. And it is vast. From the tip of its outstretched paws to the end of its tail, the Sphinx measures about 73 meters, and it stands some 20 meters high, taller than a 6-story building. This makes it the largest monolithic statue surviving from the ancient world, shaped from a single, continuous mass of stone. Beneath its great paws, each one longer than a bus, we are reduced to the size of the tiny visitors who have gathered at its feet across the centuries. Most astonishing of all is how it came to be. The Sphinx was not built up from blocks and hauled into place. It was carved directly out of the natural limestone bedrock of the plateau, where the ancient workers cut down into the living rock and left this immense figure standing in the hollow they had quarried around it. The body emerged from the softer stone below, the head from a harder outcrop above. It is less a thing set upon the desert than a shape drawn out of the desert itself. Who summoned this guardian from the rock? Most Egyptologists believe the Sphinx was made around 2,500 years before our era, during the reign of the pharaoh Khafre of the 4th dynasty. His own Great Pyramid rises directly behind it, and the Sphinx appears to have belonged to that vast complex of pyramid, temples, and causeway. Many scholars think the royal face we see was meant to be the face of Khafre himself, so that the king would guard his own resting place for eternity. There is a reason it gazes the way it does. The Sphinx faces due east, staring straight toward the point where the sun rises over the Nile. Each morning the first light of day falls upon its worn face, and in ancient belief the rising sun was the daily rebirth of creation itself. Set here on the edge of the desert, the great stone king was placed to greet the reborn sun forever, binding the monument to the vast cycle of day and night, death and renewal, that lay at the heart of Egyptian faith. In this meeting of lion and king, of stone and sunrise, the Egyptians wove together their deepest ideas of power. The lion had long been a symbol of the sun and of kingship, a fierce protector of sacred places. By giving that lion the face of a pharaoh and turning it toward the dawn, they created a guardian that was at once royal, solar, and eternal. In later ages, the Sphinx would even be honored as a god in its own right, revered here upon the plateau as a divine watcher over Giza. For much of its long life, the Sphinx has fought a slow battle with the desert. Again and again, the wind heaped the sand about it until only its head rose above the dunes, the great body hidden entirely from view. For long ages it lay buried to its very shoulders, a lonely stone face gazing out over an empty sea of sand. Those who came upon it in those centuries saw only that weathered head and could scarcely have guessed at the enormous lion that slept beneath. Between the great paws of the Sphinx stands a tablet of stone that tells a wonderful story. It was placed there by the pharaoh Thutmose IV, and it is known as the Dream Stela. According to its carved account, the young prince fell asleep in the shadow of the buried Sphinx and dreamed that the monument spoke to him, promising him the throne of Egypt if he would only clear away the sand that smothered it. He did so, the story says, and in time he became king. Whether legend or truth, the tablet marks one of the very first recorded efforts to rescue the Sphinx from the desert. Come nearer to the great face and one loss stands out at once. The nose of the Sphinx is gone, broken away long ago, and leaving the noble features strangely flattened. Many stories have grown up to explain how it vanished, blaming soldiers, iconoclasts, or the simple violence of time, and travelers have argued over it for centuries. The truth is that no one can say for certain how the nose was lost. Like much about the Sphinx, its disappearance remains a riddle, and the empty scar only deepens the monument's air of mystery. The name we use is not the one it has carried here the longest. To the Arab inhabitants of Egypt, the monument became known as Abu al-Hal, which means the father of dread, a title that captures the awe of coming suddenly upon that giant face in the sand. The word Sphinx itself is far younger, a term the Greeks brought with them and gave to this Egyptian guardian long after it was made. Across languages and ages, every people who has stood before it has reached for a name equal to its strange and imposing presence. Time has not been gentle with the Sphinx. Wind, sand, and the salts within its soft limestone have gnawed at the body for thousands of years, wearing away its surface and crumbling its flanks. Yet almost from the beginning, people have refused to let it fall. Even in ancient times, workers added blocks of stone to shore up its eroding sides, and every age since has freed it from the sand and mended its wounds anew. The guardian we come to today is the survivor of a long chain of repairs, tended and rescued over and over across the centuries. Turn from the Sphinx and its purpose becomes plain. Rising just behind it stand the Great Pyramids of Giza, the eternal tombs of the pharaohs, and the Sphinx lies before them like a lion at a gate. For 45 centuries it has kept this same watch, facing the dawn while the mightiest tombs of the ancient world stand at its back. Empires have risen and crumbled within sight of this plateau, and still the guardian holds its post, the silent keeper of the greatest monuments Egypt ever raised. A lion carved from living rock, a king's face turned forever toward the dawn, buried and freed 100 times, and still keeping watch over the pyramids after 4,500 years. The Great Sphinx of Giza endures as one of the oldest and most mysterious wonders our world has ever known. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.